What is the most effective psychological trick you use? This isn't something I've used, but I think it's worth sharing. Darren Brown said that once there was a muscly drunk guy that wanted to beat him up, and said the classic "What are you looking at?" Darren replied with, "The wall outside my house is 4 feet tall." The idea is that it puts the aggravated person on the back foot and takes them out of that adrenaline-filled state. Anyways, he sat down, and the guy started crying to him about his GF. He is Darren Brown though, so I wouldn't recommend this to everyone. Darren Brown also suggests, for example, "Are you looking at my girl? Sorry, she reminded me of my sister. She was killed in a car accident." Damn, no way you get it after that. Did you stare at her tits too? Think of my future self. How will my future self feel in an hour or two if I skip my gym session? Will my future self be happy if I do this pile of dishes now, before bed, or would he prefer to have to do it in the morning, before work? I have a 3-month deadline on this project. Will my future self appreciate my current self taking the first 3 or 4 weeks easy, or will he be really pissed off? Essentially delayed gratification. Pretty much all the bad stuff gives us instant gratification, while all the good stuff has delayed gratification. I always try to remember that, if I have to wait to reap the rewards, then it's probably the best option. My past self likes to put chapsticks where she thinks I'll need them, by the bedside, in a sweater pocket, in the car console, in my work bag, and I find her completely adorable. To avoid workplace drama, and be well liked, is to just compliment people behind their back. I would never say this to her face, but she's a wonderful person and a gifted artist. IDK if this is an actual thing or not, or maybe just distractions. But when I do something annoying, or bothersome to my husband and he goes quiet, I wait a few minutes, and then I ask him a seemingly innocent question. Usually on the subject of how certain parts of a car works, or something mechanical. This gets him talking about the car thing, and he rambles for like 5 minutes and then bam, he's happy again and not quietly brooding. I'll never tell him I do that, because I'm afraid it won't work anymore, if he knows about it. It's foolproof though. It works every single time, no matter how bothered he is. A girl I like does this to me. I know exactly what she's doing, and I fall for it every time. Set expectations low and blow people's minds with my mediocrity. Listening to someone without giving advice, or pushing for more information typically nets me more information, than being pushy for it. This, if you want to hear what someone has to say, just let them speak. If they stop, just wait. They will continue speaking and adding to what they were saying to fill the silence. I've done this a lot. Aha. When somebody shy is speaking, if you look at them, and nod your head, it encourages them to keep talking. I'm a professional poker player. When I'm in a pot with one other player, I often try to make them laugh when they are thinking about what to do. If you can get them to laugh, it sets them in a mood where they are unlikely to bluff. I talk a lot in general. It's very common to make jokes at the table, even in hands. It sets them in a mood where they are unlikely to bluff. Hadn't considered this. Clever. Works well because they won't figure out what you're doing either. Music. Putting headphones in, and playing the music that I know I'd want to hear if I was in the mood that I want to be in shifts me over to that mentally, and really helps when I need to calm down, or when I need to feel happier. I feel like this is the audio version of dressing for what you want. I get into my gym clothes, even when I feel sluggish, because it will put me in the mood to work out. Or I'll put on work clothes, even when I'm working at home, because I'll be more productive or more professional on the phone than if I were wearing pajamas. I do a similar thing. I wear a condom under my clothes, and I'll be damned if I don't disappoint a lot of people. Inner argument. Find something to agree on, then push your main point. When you realize this, it's like a superpower. When someone is trying to throw excuses, or generally if they are getting a bit arsy about something, often the best way to handle it is to stare back with mild interest and contribute nothing to their monologue. If you don't give them anything to work with, they'll talk themselves into a corner and lose confidence in what they're saying. I learned this trick from an old director who used to control pretty much any meeting room scenario by being the most silent and impassive person in the room. I fondly remember the time someone asked him a ridiculous question and he just stared at him for about 15 seconds. 15 seconds is a long time to be stared at in a room full of people. The guy wilted into his chair and nobody could work out if the director was angry or just quietly mulling it over. Bet that director had special pants tailored to support his massive balls. When you are standing in a group and somebody tells a joke or something funny happens, people tend to look towards the person they like the most while laughing. Great. Now I'm trying to remember the last time I stood in a group who was laughing, and who they turned toward. Great. Now I'm trying to remember the last time I stood in a group. And here I'm trying to remember the last time I laughed. My wife calls this the simplest, most manipulative thing I do. Whenever I bump into an acquaintance, meaning not friend, just a person I know, I of course say hi and the conversation goes like this. Me. Hey. How are you? Name. You look good. Them. Laugh. Thank you. I'm good. How are you? Me. I'm great. I'm on the way to wherever I'm going to at the time and I tell them why too. So what are you doing here? Them. Go into same detail to tell me where they're going and why. Me. Alright. Well, I won't keep you up any longer than I have. Have a good day. Name. It leaves people feeling good. Takes away the awkwardness of cutting a convo short, and it makes them want to leave. If only my memory would autofill the name field. If someone says they have the hiccups, ask them to prove it. 9/10 times, their hiccups will disappear. Having to summon a hiccup in order to demonstrate will trick your diaphragm into just not hiccuping. I've been able to twist it around on myself with some success as well. But it takes practice. You realize you have hiccups, then try to hiccup. Actively try to make yourself do another one. It'll stop. If you need to de-escalate someone and get them to communicate, asking questions about number/personal information. I work in emergency services. If someone is totally distraught and shut down, asking their phone number/address/SSN/birth can pull them out of the emotional place and bring them back to a headspace where they can talk about what happened more easily. I often ask these questions, even after I have the information, just to de-escalate. Removed. Removed. Anyone here reading through the posts for the sake of using them in the future, but an hour later you forget everything you've just read? Put all your forks in your pantry while reading a good advice. I work with a bunch of idiot lawyers and I use the phrase "you're correct" all the time, even if it's one teeny tiny thing they're correct about. It makes them feel smart, and they instantly soften. It also keeps them listening, because they're hoping more flattery will come down the pike. Evil cackle. I speak at conferences all over the world, and a lot of the speakers use this in their Q&A. If there's a particularly hard question to answer, they always start with "what a great question," etc etc. Generally speaking, the asker is so pleased that their question got praised by the speaker in front of all those people that they are less critical of and pay less attention to the actual answer. Thanking someone for a tray you want from them. Instead of telling a customer you're sorry for their wait, tell them thank you for your patience or understanding. Works wonders. My youngest, 4, got into the why phase a little while back. Read an article that said the best way to get them to stop was to ask them "I'm not sure. What do you think?" It is a godsend. They answer their own question. You provide some feedback, "sounds good to me," and they immediately move on. Fucking awesome. My friend responded to her toddler's 7th question in an extreme but why chain with "well, why not?" in a really happy voice. Her son looked completely mind blown and stopped asking. When I ask someone a question and their first response is "what?" I just stare at them for a few seconds, and 99% of the time they answer my question without me having to repeat myself. I think it's just a subconscious reflex people have to ask "what?" instead of answering what you've asked, even when they've heard you clearly. 50% of the time I answer a question with "what?" and then while they are repeating the question I'm answering it. Yes, Ed, just stare at you and let your brain catch up. What? Instead of arguing, I start off by agreeing, and then state my point of view, after addressing the other person's point. Always ends in a positive interaction. Can you give an example? I'm just curious how you transition from each phase. I have an example from earlier in my day in a cab. The driver was listening to the news, and the president's name comes up. Cab driver. I like Duterte. They say there are a lot of deaths, but I think it's working to stop drugs addicts from continuing their habits. And he's done so much since getting elected. Me. Well, yeah. Nothing like the fear of death to stop someone from doing drugs, right? And we can't discount all the good things he's done. Only thing I don't like is my points why I disagree with Duterte go here. Cab driver. Yeah, I see your point. In a discussion like this, if you immediately go into your counterpoints, it's easy for the person you talk to be defensive. So agreeing with them makes them easier to talk to. I don't follow news from the Philippines that closely, but he seems to be committing some of the worst human rights violations in the world right now. Yep, he is. When you need to find out a name egg for a lead, you say back quote, "Oh, is John still managing up there?" They go back quote, "No, it's Mark now." Works with anything. Just use a fake. Back quote, "Is that your focus outside?" Back quote, "What? No, mine's the Ferrari." This is sneaky, and I dig it. Is the door code still 7544? Whenever I know somebody is holding some truth from me, I'll look at them and stay silent. No nodding, no acknowledging, just looking. The silence usually brings out the truth or extra detail. If they squirm around a bit, you know there's something they have exaggerated, etc. People in business, and especially reporters, call this aggressive listening. Be direct and personal when you need things. Instead of asking if anyone has an EP pen, ask who has an EP pen. Instead of saying someone, call 911, point to someone, say, "You in the blue jacket, what's your name?" Tom. Okay Tom, go call 911 and come tell me when they are in the way. I did a first aid course recently, and that's actually something they teach you. You can't leave a task up to a crowd. You have to single someone out for shit to get done. I remember learning that back in high school, cause otherwise the bystander effect kicks in, and people just assume someone else will step up and be the one to help. I can't remember. My wife's a psychologist, and I lost all my superpowers of manipulation of time and space. That must be fucking exhausting at times. "Hi baby, how are you?" Interesting that you'd ask that question. How are you doing? Playing dumb gets you out of a lot, but not too dumb. Whose morals? Not that dumb. Don't say it's okay when someone apologizes. Say something like, "Thank you for apologizing." If someone needs to apologize to you, then it was something that isn't okay. My mom teaches this to her kindergartners, and it really does make a difference. Opens doors for growth and conversation too. "Thank you for apologizing. I don't like it when you hit me," or whatever. I recently read that saying "you're right" instead of "I know" makes you look less like an asshole and doesn't diminish something someone else may have just found out. I think it's pretty effective at not letting you look like a total ass. I love you, you're right. I work as a creative director. I have a lot of great clients. Unfortunately, with a few shitty managers from their side. They usually go with a mantra of, "If it's not my idea, it's not a good idea." I end up, sometimes, telling them about something Google, Tesla, Amazon, Samsung, etc. is doing, and how we could try it. They jump at these ideas. The ideas are actually mine or my team's. Works like a charm. Semicolon. Use this sparingly. Using it as an easy escape is not a good idea. It works, but know when to use it. If you use it all the time, it won't make you look any better. It will also allow people to be promoted who aren't capable of doing the job. Pointed out by Rootfoot / thank you / good luck everyone. Semicolon. Much of my old jobs involved tricking my managers into thinking the best option was their idea all along. It's great for getting things done, but horrible when it comes time to compensate you appropriately for all you bring to the team. If you hand something to someone, they will take it. It's a lot of fun. They're less likely to take it if it's obviously trash. Source: I hand people things very often.